Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session on application integration into Teams. It's 10 o'clock Eastern, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Looks like some of you are already taking advantage of this, but if you haven't already noticed, there's an active Q&A to this event. So this event's a little bit different than like a standard Teams event. You'll notice it's more of a broadcast type of event. And the way to interact with us here on the organizing side is to put in a question on the Q&A. So if you pop that in, it'll come in privately and respond to it privately. And if anything we think is like relevant to the larger group here today, we'll publish it also for everybody to see. So feel free to fire any questions that you have in the queue early and often throughout the presentation. We'll take a few breaks and just sort of stop and answer questions as they come up. All right, so very excited to be hosting this session today on application integration into Teams. This is the first time that we've done this, or this specific topic, I guess I should say. So yeah, we're excited to show you all what we've got in store. This session is one session of a series that we're hosting here. My name is Adam Schau, by the way. Probably should introduce myself. I'm with Microsoft on our federal customer success team. And as a team, we've been hosting these sessions weekly. These are all the May sessions that we have scheduled. We also have some sessions coming up in April, or June, sorry, that we'll be posting up soon. So anyway, they'll probably look pretty similar to what we have this month. We're planning 3 sessions a week. One on kind of like Teams introduction, that getting started with Teams is kind of a Teams 101. The second is doing more with, the second is like an intermediate, more advanced series on Teams. And the third, which we're doing today, are a series of like rotating topics. So we've done smart meetings in the past. We'll be doing live events next week. And then of course, today is going to be all about apps in Teams. So anyway, if you're planning to do the apps in Teams session, great, stick around. If you're looking for one of those other sessions today, just know that we have those coming up and you can join next week or in June if interested. All right. So moving along, we're not going to spend much time on Teams by itself, right? Those other 2 sessions are really geared towards that. Scope today is really about applications and really thinking about Teams more as that platform for applications. So today we're really going to be focused on this part, right? Collaboration in Teams with Office 365 apps, and this is a federal government specific webinar. So we're going to be talking too about your environments that you're in the federal government space, which is slightly different than the commercial space. All right, so let's get into it. When we think about apps and Teams that are available, this is really kind of how I frame it up in these 3 different buckets, or these 3 different types. First are Microsoft created apps that we have created natively and included sort of by default into the Teams experience. The admin still has to, like not block those, like basically enable them for the organization, but those are like out of the box, so to speak, that are within Microsoft and Office 365. Again, Teams, really think of it instead of as a standalone app, really think of it more as a platform for Office 365. It really is the hub for all things teamwork and Office 365 related. So as that platform, we can pull in apps that Microsoft has built in Office 365 in that one central space. Second, we're going to talk about servicing applications through the website tab. So the website tab is a really powerful tool in your Teams toolkit, so to speak, because you can bring in any external site, not any external site, a lot of external sites directly into Teams. It actually uses like Chromium on the back end, so it's very similar to a web browser. And by doing that, you can also bring in like external sources and external websites that you want to use and integrate in your team too. So again, the website tab is also something that needs to be enabled by the administrator, but it's available for all clouds, all federal government clouds. So hopefully you see that in your team's environment. If not, you should bug IT to get it turned on. My recommendation, at least. And then third, we're going to spend less time on this one, but I do at least want to touch on company and third-party apps. These are available in the GCC environment. So they're not available in our higher level security environments, GCC High and DoD. But for the government, for the GCC environment, was really most of our civilian agencies, most of the federal civilian agencies. Third-party apps are enabled for the environment, but you as an organization actually need to like turn on and evaluate which ones you want to turn on in your organization. So we'll just briefly touch on that, but I do just want to kind of like touch on it to make sure that you know what's available and how it's connected within Teams. All right, so first let's get into the Microsoft created apps. So these should be relevant to almost everyone, hopefully everyone on the call today, right? These are kind of the out-of-the-box applications included in Teams. I want to make sure that you know what they all do, and we're going to do a quick demo of each one, and we're going to kind of just cover at a high level what each one of them do today. So at the very least, I want to make sure that you leave with an understanding of everything that's available out of the box to you all, okay? So let's get into that first. All right, so here's like a quick summary. I probably should have built this slide out, but here's a quick summary of kind of the highlights and what I want to demo with you all today, okay? Let's start actually at the bottom with Office products. Let's go here first. So Office products, you know, like basic PowerPoint, Word, and Excel are built directly into Teams, and you can bring them in as tabs to make finding documents easy. So let's see what I mean by that. So let's pull up our environment here. By the way, feel free to join, follow along with us in your own tenant. Of course, you can just watch this presentation if you want, but you'll probably get a little bit more out of it if you're actually like working along and testing along in your own workspace along with me. And then you can ask questions and stuff when they come up. So quick overview, right? If you go to office.com, everything in Office 365 is available via browser. I went to office.com and authenticated into my GCC tenant. So what I'm using here today is a GCC government tenant, just so you know. And I have all of these applications that are available to me, right? Click Teams, and then Teams pops up. So here we go. So what do I mean? So let's first look at the Office 365 apps, or the Office productivity tools. So if you go to Teams, we're pretty familiar by this at this point. If you go to Files, you'll see the you know, let's find you have some files available, right? If you've put them up in Files. Basically, what the apps allow you to do is take these files, pin them up as a tab to your team, and that just makes working together and collaborating with your coworkers just really easy, right? So let's say there's like a document that you're working really, you know, regularly on that you want to highlight. Maybe it's a collaborative document like a resources page or something like that that you want to pin up into your team and have everybody contribute to. You can do that using the Office apps or another tool called Wiki, which we'll get to in a little bit. But let's say that you have like a deck, like a presentation that as a team you're putting together, maybe like policy, something like that in Word. So I've uploaded an FAQ doc here. Let's do the CDOT audit template here. So, you know, in Teams, of course, I could just click it and start editing it, right? But that requires, you know, someone to go to Teams, go to the files, find it, and click it, which isn't, you know, that big of a deal. But let's just say we want to make it easy. So to pin it, we can do this two different ways. The first way is you can go to Add a Tab, and you'll see the apps that are available to you. So again, this looks a little bit different. These are, you know, I've enabled everything in my GCC tenant. You probably won't see all of these, right? But just know you'll have some of these pop up. And let's say I want to pin this Word document to the team. So if I click that, you'll see what happens is what it does is it's searching within my existing files tab, my SharePoint site, and it's highlighting any Word documents that are in there that I might want to pin. So, you know, basically this highlights an existing document, so you'd have to load up the document ahead of time in order to use this feature. Okay, so let's say, yeah, I want to do this audit template doc. Click that. We'll just the tab name is just what'll pop up. I like to keep it really short, you know, so that it doesn't like clog up with a bunch of different words up top. So I'm just keeping it short. Audit, and clicking save. And then you'll see now I have this new tab called Audit that's popped up. And I can edit it in a variety of different ways. Let's say I just want to edit it in Teams, click that. Something happened with that document here. There we go. That's the fun with live demos, is stuff like this happens every now and then. Maybe we'll try with that other one. So go to Word, go to FAQ. Hopefully that one works. Here we go. All right, so here's your FAQ page. I think it's just blank because I didn't add anything to it, but if I can like edit it in Teams, then now what I can do, right, is edit this directly in Teams, and anybody that goes to this Word tab, or let's rename that FAQ to make it easy. Oh yeah, FAQ2. No, I already have an FAQ2. FAQ3. Anyway, rename that FAQ3, and then we can edit that directly in Teams, right? So anyway, so this is just like pinning it to the top of a team and making it really easy. If we have, so Abby, if you're out there, feel free to pop in and edit this too, just so we can see what it looks like. But basically, cool. But basically, you know, what this is doing is it keeps it easy. Now, removing these tabs are just as easy too. If I click like this, let's say I don't need all of these FAQs. So I'm going to remove the FAQ1 tab, and I'm going to remove the FAQ tab. And if you notice, like it doesn't actually remove the underlying document. It's only removing the tab, right? So that underlying document is there. So think of the tabs kind of separately as the actual underlying document. You know, you need to upload the document first, and then you're surfacing it via a tab. But if you remove a tab, it won't actually remove the document. So cool, so this is cool. So we now see that Deborah is actually in this document with us. And this little thing here shows that Deborah is actually changing the document in real time, which is very cool, right? So it just makes collaboration with your team really easy, really seamless. You have one place to go, and you have no more need to save different versions of documents because it's just always going to be there. And you can go back and revert to previous versions if you want. And if you really want your own copy, you can download a copy right. Yeah, download here. Oh yeah, here we go. You can download it to your OneDrive. So anyway, so these are the Apis apps. Awesome, thanks, Deborah. And Deborah also looks like she commented to this tab. So if I posted over in the chat in this audit planning channel that I was posting up this document, and then Deborah replied to it, which is a really cool feature in Teams. So there's that. Okay, so that same type of app experience, tab experience, is available with PowerPoint and with Excel as well. So really, I'm not going to go through both of, all three. I think you probably kind of get the gist, but you can take an existing document, pin it up, and then in real time collaborate. Just makes it really easy. All right, so that's the first one. Let's go next to OneNote. So we're doing these a little out of order, but that's okay. So let's check out OneNote. So OneNote's a great tool. So for those of you who haven't used OneNote a whole lot, OneNote is like an open notebook, and think of it almost like an open whiteboard type of notebook with a bunch of functionality built in. It's really easy to add OneNote to a team. All you have to do is, I think we already added it. Oh, that's my wiki. Okay, so anyway, go to OneNote. Click the plus, click the OneNote tab. Now we're fetching a notebook. There's always a OneNote built into a team by default, is what I've noticed. So I just tend to use that one because, why create another one if you already kind of have one by default that's being used? So I'll rename that to OneNote. And I'll open this up in the browser. For whatever reason, recently we've pushed something out where we were kind of forcing people to edit OneNote in a browser as opposed to in the Teams directly. Don't know why we did that, but we did do that for whatever reason. So anyway, the browser version works great. Yeah, Abby.
It's new. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just happened to me on my demo yesterday, so interesting.
Yeah. So here's OneNote. For those who are unfamiliar with OneNote, I do want to cover what each of these apps just briefly, right? So you get a sense. I won't spend a ton of time on it, and then ask Q&A for any questions that you have. OneNote's organized by section and by pages. Okay, so you have let's just call it boy, I don't know, demo or something, and then within that demo, we'll have you can have multiple pages. So this would be our, let's say, our apps page, apps demo, like we're doing today. Let's say I want to set up another page for Teams 101 demo that I do, right? And let's say I'm taking notes here, my talk track or something like that. So you see, so within the demo section, I now have 2 pages, and I have a whole white space where I can play around with. So what's nice here is you can just like think of it almost like a whiteboard, right? So it's very agile, or I don't know, flexible in the way that you want to work with it. You can also draw on it. So I could move this and use my stylus if I wanted to, or you can use my mouse cursor like I'm doing now. You know, and you can just sort of like, so let's say you're in a meeting and you want to draw, you want to have a whiteboard capability. OneNote's a great tool for that, right? Pop OneNote as a tab in your team, present your team, and then you can play around with it and use it as a whiteboard within your team meeting, and then it's there whenever you need it and come back to it. So right, so like let's say you have like let's say you have a meetings tab. Maybe you have like a weekly meetings, and then you have your weekly meetings. How do I get it off that? There we go, this little guy. Weekly meetings. And then under these weekly meetings, I like have them. You can also, if you right click, you notice you have a few options. You can also make things subpages. So now I have like my weekly meetings, and I can make a subpage for each date. So this one's going to be May 21st. And then I could do, like, let's say I have another one tomorrow, so I can make a subpage and do May 22nd. So, you know, you get the idea, right? Like, and then if I want, I can, you know, it's all collapsible under the larger weekly meetings. So I can go through and use this as a space for whiteboarding. So really nice tool. You can set up OneNotes for yourself individually in OneDrive. So if you want your own private notebook, you can do that. And that's what I use to organize my work life for myself. Also, it's good to have a team OneNote for the team. And that way you just have a space to like do whiteboarding during meetings and to do just take notes. Let's say if you're like hosting a conference and some people are going to some sessions and some people are going to others, and everybody can pop in their notes from their sessions, and then collectively have like a consolidation of all the notes from the conference, right? So it's a really nice tool if you get your team to start using it in that way. Okay, so that is OneNote. And to add that OneNote to a tab, it was pretty simple, right? Just click the plus, click the OneNote, and then you'll add that directly, and you're actually adding, yeah, and then it's pretty much just that easy. Okay, so that's OneNote. Next, let's go to Planner. So Planner is a really nice app that if you haven't tried it out yet, it's like a digital Kanban board. Okay, so it's like if you think about having like a board with like sticky notes all over the place, like if you've ever done agile scrumming or whatever, and you want to take the sticky notes and move them around, and you want to assign people to the sticky notes, you know. Anyway, that's what Planner replicates, but in digital form. So it's a nice, light task management tool. So you can track action items that are open, assign people to those action items, and then move forward through stages until they're completed. So just a really nice tool to do that, and we'll show you that here right now. Adding a planner to your tab is pretty easy. Again, really all you do is you go in, let's go to one that's not quite as full. This delivery tab, that's perfect. We need a planner to help us plan our delivery, right? Click the plus, you see this planner is this little the icon here, the green one. I want to post about it, sure. Let's name it delivery planning. If I had an existing plan already within this group, I could also surface that here if I wanted to. And I actually do have an existing plan. I do have my team plan, which maybe I'll just, so anyway, actually, yeah. So this is how you create a new one. But instead of doing that, I'm going to go back to my other team plan that I have just to kind of show you, because there's a few items in there. So, okay, so here's my planner tab. And you'll see what pops up is sort of like what's cool about Teams, right, is you can do everything within Teams, right? So you don't have to leave Teams and go to a separate web app called Planner in order to take advantage of this. It's just built right into Teams. So especially if you have a team and you're working together and you're all like actually using Teams, you know, like if your team's actually collaborating in teams and posting files and doing all of that, then it's pretty easy to just post up a plan in there and then mention the team to like notice that you've done it. And then sure enough, like people should start playing around with it and start getting the feel for it and using it without a lot of extra effort. Okay, so you see here, I'll just kind of quickly go through what Planner does. You'll see here what we did is we have like these 3 different buckets. Okay, we have our audit preparedness bucket, our audit draft, and let's change this one to audit final, something like that. And these different buckets, I can add a new bucket over here if I want to. These buckets are really just sort of organizing the overall category for the tasks underneath it. Okay, so under the audit preparedness bucket, I have these 2 tasks. So these different things, these are my sticky notes, my digital stickies, right? I have this one and then this prep audit one, test prep audit. Task name, review financial documents, email. And then also you notice here it shows show completed that I have a couple. If I click that, I can see some tasks that I created in the past that were marked off as completed. So that's what happens when you mark something complete, it goes to kind of hides at the bottom there. So these tasks, think of them as very flexible. So again, kind of like with the sticky note analogy, you can take them and move them around as needed. So I just clicked it, right, and moved it around. To add a task, all you do is click this, and there's really 3 pieces of information you need, right? You need, let's see, prepare audit docs. You need a title, a due date. So let's do this in June 3rd. And you need to assign somebody to the team. So you notice that in this is only people that are in your group. So again, so think of teams, right? Everything in your team is private to the group of people that are there. So everyone in your team has access to this plan and to all the documents and everything in your team, but people outside of this team don't even know that it exists, right? And so the idea here is when you're, it's only bringing in people that are in this team with me to assign to the task, because, you know, anyone outside of that group of people don't have access to this page and don't have access to this plan. So these are my team members, and I'm going to assign Diego to this one, and then hit add task, right? 1, 2, 3, add task. Just that easy. Now that new task comes up. If I click the task, you notice that some additional information pops up. So this is what really Diego would use in order to manage the task that was just assigned to him. So you go in, and I could also update this too if I want to add more information and more like clarification for Diego. I could do that too. So like as me as the organizer, or the task, what do you call it? The person who's making the task. I could go in and, for instance, I could give more information here. I could say that it was urgent instead of just medium priority. Like for instance, I could put in additional notes. I really like this feature, which is a checklist feature, because I can go in and say, okay, Diego, I need you to do item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4 for this to be complete. And then he would go in and update, and he would check off these items as he finished them. And he might use the comments down here to give status updates of what's going on. Yep, I just completed item 1, just completed item 1. If I was Diego right now, hit send, and now that comment is now associated with that task, right? And then you could check off that item 1 because it's been finished, and then you work on item 2 and work on item 3. So anyway, just a nice way, what we use this for internally is for a lot of like our weekly status meetings that we do as account teams. I also use them for status meetings with my customers. What we'll do is we'll have a plan. It's a nice foundation for conversation with our customers, right? Or with your team, because you can use it weekly and then come back to it week over week. And if anything, fell off, you can make sure that someone's reoriented to do it, and you can see what progress has been made. Yeah, Abby, we're going to say anything?
Yeah, I was just going to ask a quick question, and I actually don't know the answer, so I'm curious if we can figure it out together. But we have a question. Our team has noticed that Planner sends an email to everyone every time a comment is made in Planner. Do we have a way to stop those notifications?
Yeah, there is a way to do that. It has to do with like your settings for basically like email notifications for Outlook. So you can choose to opt out of emails like that, or you can also choose to, like, when you set up a team, to opt the team out of email updates like that. But it would take too long to get into at the moment, but I guess that'd be more of an advanced thing to do, and you can opt out of it, but just know that when you set up a team, everyone's opted in unless you choose to opt out of it. And maybe we can follow up with something.
Sure, we'll see if we have time at the back end here.
Cool. Good question, though. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of moving along quickly here. Any other questions from attendees today that I can cover?
Yeah, are we able to pin, or I'm assuming pin means add to the tab bar. Can we put PDFs up there?
Not.
I don't think
I don't think
yet.
so.
Okay.
No.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I haven't done that personally.
I will check for a timeline on that. I know we have an attendee specifics, but I will. I don't think we have any documentation right now on that ETA. So that's all, Adam. Go for it.
Cool. Yeah. If you did, so another way to, I should have covered this earlier. Another way to pin these to the top of the tab, if you go over to the very right and the ellipsis here, you'll see that you have the option, you get a bunch of options if you click the ellipsis, right? And the very end is make this a tab. If you click that, that's just another way to take this and pop that up as a tab. That's actually the way that I usually do. It's a little easier than clicking the plus, I think. But anyway, you'll notice for the PDFs here, that's not an option. So yeah, good call out. Okay, so hey, that's Planner in a nutshell. I could do a whole hour on Planner, right? It's lightweight, but there's some extra functionality in there you might want to play around with. Like for instance, you can set categories on the right here. It's an additional level of like setting, setting settings to a task. You can also see an overview really easily of the of everyone's work. So you can see this team is not doing great. We've got a few that have been completed, and we've got a few not started, and then we've got a whole lot that are late. So we gotta update those. And if you go down, you can see who's assigned to what and stuff. So anyway, I just recommend kind of playing around with Planner.
We do have one more question, Adam. I just got it. And I think you just spoke to this, so maybe just show it again really quick. But we have a participant asking, is there a way to add multiple team member assignments to a single task that will allow each member to mark themselves complete without completing the entire task? I think that's what, like task 1, task 2, task 3. Can you show how to do that again?
Yeah, I think, yep. So I guess, okay, so first thing, you can assign more than one person to a task. So this little plus button over here, if I click that, like Diego's assigned, let's say I also want to assign Deborah and Johanna. And let's actually say, Diego, he's too busy, I'm going to take him off. I can also do that here too. So now I've assigned these 2 people. And probably the best way to do that is, either using these checklists and like calling out, hey, Deborah, please do this. Johanna, please do this. Or you could set up 2 different tasks. That's probably the best. Doing one of those is probably the best method of that. Cool. Okay, so that's Planner. It's a really nice tool. It's built in Office 365. You have it by default, right? No additional cost or anything. So I'd recommend you use it. If you don't see it turned on, it just means your administrator hasn't turned it on. So might want to check in with that. If not, all right. Next, let's cover SharePoint and these 2 over here. SharePoint and SharePoint Library. I get a lot of questions about what's the difference between SharePoint and SharePoint Library. So let's cover that. Okay, so over here, think of Teams. Everything in Teams is in SharePoint Online, right? So SharePoint Online, even though it has the name SharePoint, think of it as a different thing than the SharePoint of the past that lived on premise and servers, SharePoint 2010, 2013, whatever. SharePoint Online is a different thing. SharePoint Online is completely in the cloud. It's part of Office 365. Every team that has a SharePoint backend uses SharePoint Online. They don't, that's the default and really only option moving forward in terms of Office 365 is SharePoint Online. So I just say that so that one, when you go to SharePoint Online, right, if you click this Files, this is really a mirror image of your SharePoint Online site for your team. And if you click Open in SharePoint, and this is something we cover in the other team sessions, right? You'll see this is my SharePoint site. Okay, so just know that this is the SharePoint the SharePoint Online view, and it might look a little different than if you're using a different version of SharePoint in the past, right? So just know that, and I cover that because so everything related to SharePoint Online you can pull in via this like SharePoint tool here. And then the document library, which you see here that kind of has a file folder and the SharePoint icon here. This is used to pull in a document library outside of this team that you want visibility into. It won't migrate any files over, but it will show you a list of the files that you have in that library so that you can like download them and move them over, maybe move them over to your like OneDrive or wherever, and then move them over to the team if you need it. So basically what it's doing is it's surfacing, if you have an existing document library that you use with your team a lot, so maybe you have like a knowledge management repository that you want to access, and you're using Teams a lot, and it's kind of annoying because you have to go to that other SharePoint site to bring stuff in. What you can do is you can use this document library app to bring in a SharePoint library that you've used previously, right? So you see here I can use, so I could bring in some from my other teams if I wanted to. I guess I could just try that and see how it looks. So, oh yeah, learning pathways maybe. Anyway, let's just click this one. Yeah, the easiest way, I guess, is to post a URL. So anyway, I could post the URL here, and I could pull in, basically another SharePoint library for the team to see. But just know, because I get some confusion around this. Just know that this isn't actually moving any files over. It's just showing like a mirror image of what that SharePoint library is, and that's really what that allows you to do. Okay, so that's that app. And then the SharePoint app, this is a way that you can pull in sites from SharePoint directly into your team and surface them. Okay, so I'm actually going to show that a little bit later, like some more detail around this. But let's say I wanted to bring in a page or a list that I have already set up in the group. I could do that here. I could also add a page from any SharePoint site with the URL. So this allows you to like surface something. So like actually I have a list for this site. This is something I was going to show later, but I'll do it now just because we're showing it. So this is a list. This is a web part that was built out in SharePoint Online, right? So in SharePoint, I built a SharePoint list, if you've used those before. And I click that and save it. And now what it's doing is it's posting that as an app, or as a tab, I should say, sorry, to my team site. So this is cool because now I can actually use this list without going to SharePoint. Now somebody can go to the team and they can use this list just like they could in SharePoint before, but they never have to leave Teams to do it, which is kind of a nice feature. So I can click here, right? I can add a new item, whatever I have here. Hit save, and now my new item pops up on the list. So anyway, so that's what those two do. You can also bring in like SharePoint pages. If you wanted to like bring in a home page, like let's say you design this home page and it's real fancy, and you're bringing in news feeds and whatever. What I could do is I could take this, right, and then I could add it as a. This is get pretty busy. Let's do this. Let's do this tab is cleaner. I could add it as a SharePoint site. You see, I just copied this link, so I'm going to hit right here, and then it should pull in my home page as a tab. And now, instead of people having to go to the back end to find the SharePoint homepage, so basically what you're doing now, you can surface the web apps and the pages in your underlying SharePoint Online site to Teams. And that's pretty handy, especially if you're like a SharePoint designer, if you like using SharePoint for different feeds or for different uses, especially if you like the web parts, you can pull all that in directly in Teams. That's pretty handy, and that's available to all federal customers. So anyway, okay, so that's those two. Any questions from the queue? Good so far?
Good so far. You're looking good.
Cool. Next, let's cover Stream. So Stream, think of Stream, that is something that needs to be enabled. So if you don't see it, it just means it hasn't been enabled, right? But think of this as your internal organization YouTube. So this is not an external tool. It's really a tool for your organization to compile videos. When you do recordings in Teams, they automatically get uploaded into Stream. You can also take downloads that you have and upload them into Stream, right? Like movies that you have, content. And just think of it, and there's some nice tools in Stream as well. So I'll just open it up and kind of show you. Here's what Stream looks like on the back end, and then I'll show you how you add it to Teams here in a second. But here's what Stream looks like on the back end. Here's my home page. If I go to my content up here, I can like discover content that is in my organization. I can also go to my content up here and see what videos I have personally posted. So let's see that. I think I probably have, oh shoot, I don't have any. That's too bad. Let's see, maybe I can discover, maybe there's something out there. Cool. So here's some that some other people, so like Diego and Johanna made these, and they're public internally. So none of this would be available externally, right? Again, this is just an internal tool, but they've made these public to the larger organization, so now I can check them out. So I could go in here and watch any of these videos. If I own these videos, there's also some really nice features. One is you can like trim the video down, and you also have like ability to add like a transcript to a video, so it automatically transcribes, which is great from a compliance perspective. It transcribes the conversation, and you can go in and you can edit that transcript as needed. So anyway, it's a nice video tool, and let's say I want to add that tab to a team. Like I want to add let's say I came out with a stream video and I'm really excited to share it and want to add that directly to a team. So you do that through the Stream app, okay? So what's cool is you have two different options. You can choose to add a channel or a video. So just like in YouTube, you can set channels, right? And you can just set different like movies under each channel. You can do the same in Stream. And so I could choose to like showcase a channel that I had. So if I want to showcase just like, you know, a series of videos, I could do that. And if there's a specific video that I wanted to show, I could do that too. So let's see if I can actually pull this in. It's not mine, so I'm not sure if it'll allow me to, but I have access to it, so we'll see. Cool, looking good. Awesome. So you see, new tab was created, virtual lunch. That was the title of the video, right? And then you see here, when you click on it, it brings you to a screen just to watch the video. And if I click play, it works. So again, the idea is like everything, don't have to leave Teams, right? So like you can pull all these apps in and make it really easy for your team and for yourself. Just have access to everything that you need right there in the team without going around to like 10 different sites to find stuff. That is the goal. Okay, so that's Stream. Any questions about Stream? Good?
Looking good.
Looking good. Awesome. All right, we've got all these. I'm going to cover website here in a second. Last one, oh, Wiki. Let's do Wiki. So Wiki is a little bit different of a tool. It's when you create a new site, every new site has, or every new team, no, sorry, God, every new channel has a Wiki tab. So when you start a new channel, see if I can find one that's like blank. I've been doing so much in here. Yeah. Anyway, you have these three, right? By default in every team. You have your posts, which is where all your conversations happen. You have your files, which is your SharePoint online site, and then you have your wiki. If you click wiki, you'll see what it is. It's basically like the idea is it's a collaboration. It's sort of similar to like a OneNote, but it's a little different. But just like OneNote, you have pages and then you have sub pages, which here are called sections. You can, anybody on the team can create a new page, right? Or they can create a new section under the page. To create a new section, you just click that little plus and it creates a new section. So let's say, you know, page 1, I'll call this virtual lunch resources. Maybe I'm doing a brown bag session, and I'll say this one is in, you know, Teams live events, and this one is going to be about Stream, I guess. And so, you know, just by clicking there, I can add a new section, and then within that content, you have all these different, you know, kind of word style text format options to add content here. So what it's meant to be is a collaboration space where we can, what we use this for is for like consolidating resources, standard operating procedures that our manager has for us, like her expectation for the team, she'll pop in here, you know, expectation around, you know, notification around holidays or vacation days or whatever, right? So, you know, that's in there. You could allocate like resources in here if you want. So just like, you know, if you have different like reporting resources or whatever that you use. So anyway, so meant to be sort of a collaboration space. And what we use it for is more of those like OneNote is definitely more our interactive space for, you know, meetings and to do, you know, take notes and to have, you know, whiteboarding sessions and all that. For us, at least, we use this more as like a formal workspace for posting up resources or standing operating procedures and that kind of thing. But Wiki is a nice tool. It's added with every different, with every channel that you add, a wiki is added automatically to it. If you don't like the wiki and don't want to use it for whatever reason, it's easy to remove it. You just click that little button there and click remove. No issue there. The one caveat I'd say about Wiki is when you do an underlying search in Teams, it actually won't search Wiki. At least that's been my experience. So like think of Wiki almost as like the content in there as separate. One of the things I think is really powerful about Teams is the ability to search across all documents, across all of your teams, across all of that. For whatever reason, it doesn't search content in the wikis. So maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but just sort of know that as you're managing that, but it should surface it in like a OneNote. Okay, so that's the wiki application, and that's included by default in every channel. Definitely play around with that. Last on this page, I'm going to cover Power BI. So Power BI is like, yeah.
Hey, Adam, real quick, just still on the subject of wikis.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a question here. What are the advantages and disadvantages of when you would choose to use the wiki versus OneNote or Microsoft Word to collaborate or co-author?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess it comes down to more kind of like you and your team style of working. In terms of just general advantages, I'd say OneNote is more flexible. You know, you can do a lot more stuff in OneNote, like drawing and so OneNote's a more flexible tool. I gravitate towards OneNote for any kind of like team notes. What we've used Wiki for is more formal stuff. And again, it's just because there's less sort of functionality there. Anyway, so that's for good or bad, that's how we've gravitated towards that, is more like formal stuff in the wiki, more informal stuff in the OneNote. And then Word, I would say Word isn't a great note tool. So Word would be more of like a document management tool, right? So like OneNote's a great note tool. Wiki's kind of, I would call it a note tool, a collaboration note tool for your team. Word, really, I wouldn't use that for notes. I would use that for actual like documents that you're creating as a team, like policy documents or briefs or whatever that is. So I would think of Word more as for that. But great question. And I know that's slightly confusing. I totally get that. Okay, cool. All right, so moving on to the last one, Power BI. So Power BI is maybe more of an advanced app, but I do want to cover it. It's included in the Office 365 suite and in Teams out of the box. So I do want to cover it. So what the Power BI app allows you to do is basically take stuff from powerbi.com and bring it into Teams. So I actually have to show you a different view here because I don't have in my GCC tenant, I don't have it connected to Power BI, and it's not working for whatever reason. So here, let me just bring open. Cool. All right, so this is my actual Microsoft tenant. You see I have some stuff going on. I have this plus, and if I click Power BI, that tab will pop in. So I did that earlier. And when you click Power BI, it'll basically ask you to connect to your workspace. So this is the workspace that I have all these different, because I use different Power BI dashboards. So I've got all these different workspaces I can pick from. Okay, so I went through and I clicked this earlier, or yeah, which one did I look from marketing? Yeah, this one. So I posted up a sales and marketing like samples. This is just some dummy data, but I post that in there before this presentation, and then I click that. And I click that and I click save, and it created this dashboard that I'm going to show you here in a second. So this Power BI dashboard or this Power BI app, what's really cool about it is it basically serves like as an app would. So like if anyone of you use your Power BI app on your phone, or if you go to powerbi.com and use the web version, what this does is it really brings in all that functionality, and again, it brings it directly into Teams. So what I think is really cool about this, and what I used to use this for, my role previously was as a business manager, and I would populate our team dashboard to the general manager of the team, and I'd populate that in the team. And then the general manager, who is not, he's not going to go through, he's not Power BI savvy, but he can go to a team, click on the tab, and be able to click around and see what he needs to see at a glance. So it works really well, I think, for like publishing information to a team, especially if you're the designer of it, or you can just pull in any outside information that you think might be useful to the team. So this is, I just pulled in some external data here. So anyway, but what's cool about it, right, is you have like these tabs, so I can change different tabs, all interactive. If I click, this, just looks like standard Power BI, right? I click this and like, I'm looking at whatever this is, the convenience category. And then if I want to go look at the moderation category, right, the underlying, the visuals change. So it's just like a really nice tool to use. You can drill down, drill up, everything that you'd expect to do from Power BI, it's going to be available to you right in Teams. And it's just that easy to connect. So really the big part here is actually going to Power BI like I did right here, and actually, formatting and bringing in the data that you want to bring in, and then adding it to the team is super easy. So first step, getting your data set up. Second step, bring it into the team. Just a really nice, easy way to present that information to your group. And then you also don't have to worry about them messing around with your stuff, right? Because they can't like change the underlying report here. They're just viewing the report, which is nice if you're managing the dashboard. All right, so that's Power BI. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that I want to show in terms of Microsoft apps. All of those are available, in all the clouds. If they're not there, you just need to work with your administrator to turn them on. Any questions about anything that we covered with Microsoft apps before we move on to the next section?
One question about posting videos created with a third-party editor. So they want to bring in a group of files into Stream that are not just MP4 files.
Okay.
It could be a problem. I'll read the whole question. Can you post a video created with a third-party editor that contains files with its player, i.e. not just an MP4 file? I need to bring in a group of files into Stream.
You can upload files into Stream, but from, I'm not a total expert at Stream, but I don't think you can do. I don't think that you can. I think you can. When you upload, you basically have the option to upload files, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's anything else you can do besides that.
Yeah, I think it looks like a pretty basic uploader.
Here's here, I'm gonna just put this out on the chat. Stream supported file types. So I don't know if that's helpful, but there's some documentation on different types that are supported besides MP4. If that's helpful, but I think you do it one at a time. I think that's the way to do it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's move on into the next section. So these are with using the website tab. So I think the website tab is a really nice feature that is underutilized, I would say, in our federal space. So just know that the website tab is a really powerful tool. It's a really powerful thing where you can pull in really almost any external website directly into your Teams group to use whatever's there. Okay, so like for instance, let's take Forms. Forms, there's no application available in any of our federal clouds yet for Forms, right? Which is, I know, a little annoying. I wish it was there too, but it's not for now. They're still working on it. So Forms, for those of you who don't know, is your it's a survey or a quiz tool. So it's actually built first for the education space, for quizzes, for like teachers, and then we've kind of morphed it into like a business solution. So kind of like a Survey Monkey type of thing. It's really lightweight, really easy to create a new form. It's just super easy. You just create a new form, you title it, and then it's just really easy to add questions. And you can also, you see these different types of questions. You can do choice, text, you can do a rating, like a 1 to 5. You can also do, I use this one a lot. You can do a ranking if you want people to rank. You can also do a Likert. I use that one a lot, like, where you can have both information up top and then to the side. So anyway, it's a nice, simple tool. Not to get too much into Forms, but you can also branch. So you can like for instance, if you have based on a response to a question, it would change what the next question for the person is. So that's branching. So just kind of real briefly what Forms is and how that works. But let's say I want to take this form and post it up to a team. So let's see. So let's make this. I'm going to share this. Let's make it public. So now this, if you go to share, Yep, and I'm just clicking like that anyone in the world can use it besides, you can choose just people in your organization or make it public to the world. I'm going to choose public. I'm going to copy this link here, which is the way that I would share it with users that I'd ask for feedback for. And then I can come in here to Teams and using the website tool, this pink guy, I can copy my URL and it'll bring that form in as a URL. So basically, like instead of me sending people the URL, which is fine, I mean, that works too, you could just post this up as a tab into Teams, and then everyone can go in and directly answer it, right, and submit it, and it pushes through. So just a really nice way to, again, integrate forms into the Teams experience without the actual Forms app, which should be coming, somewhat in the near future. But the website tab can do a lot more than that. I won't go over it again, but I will just kind of quickly mention, right, the SharePoint apps. So when you go into SharePoint Online, I already showed this, so I'll be brief. But okay, so here's my backend SharePoint Online site. If you click Settings, you can go to Add an App, and here are all the web apps that are available in SharePoint Online. You can add lists. You can add a team calendar. You can add a discussion board, although with Teams, you probably don't really need that. You can add just a bunch of stuff, right? So this is how, like, before when I surfaced that list, the first thing I did is I went in through here, I added an app, and then I clicked, list, custom list, right? There it is. And let's do, I don't know, for a training list. So now this new app is available. It's down here under training list. So these are all the different apps that are available in my team right now. I can click that for more details. I can just click on it and copy the URL and then come back to Teams. And I could do this through either the SharePoint site or the website. Either one works. And then through here, I can go in, paste that, and now it surfaces that underlying list as a tab to my team. So again, this is really helpful, and there's like a bunch of web parts that are available. So it might be worth, if you're like really building out your team and you want to make it useful for your team and you're thinking there's something that you want to do that just isn't easy to do with the apps that you have available, you might want to check the web apps in SharePoint Online and see if you might, if you can if surfacing those would be a solution for you. So I did want to mention that. In addition, so here's another one, is that you can actually go to third-party websites. You can go to you can bring in any website through the website tool. Okay, so anything. So Bing.com. Oh yeah, I have to put like the HTTP. Is that what it is? HTTPS, I guess. Yes, Bing, click that, right? Now I can bring in Bing. Oh, nice, pretty picture. You can bring in any external sites. Like let's say that your team uses SurveyMonkey. And I'm going to bring SurveyMonkey as a tool, but there's no like SurveyMonkey app that's available to me in Teams. Well, what you can do, it's kind of a workaround, but what you can do is you can add the website, add SurveyMonkey, and then it'll pull in the website from SurveyMonkey for your team to use. Now they still have to go in and log in. It's not like you can like bypass anything in SurveyMonkey here, but you're just basically think of it as like a browser, and you're pulling in, from a browser, you're pulling in SurveyMonkey because your team really likes SurveyMonkey and use it all the time. You can get logged in and you can use it directly from Teams if that's something that's helpful. Okay. So that's sort of a slight workaround. And I did actually notice when I was prepping for this that there's some websites that don't allow you to. So like, for instance, I actually tried with Trello, and Trello.com did not allow you to bring it in. So just to kind of show you what I mean. So it won't work with all of them. Just know that, right? So you definitely want to do it first. So HTTP Trello.com, just like I did with SurveyMonkey, but you'll see it'll error out. So anyway, you just want to test it out. Looks like some websites don't work, but most should. And you can pull in websites that you use frequently. If you have the website tab enabled, which is available to all of our federal customers, really nice way to pull in external information and external tools that you and your team use. So I did want to cover that. That was sort of the second section there. Any questions about servicing web parts or using the website app to bring in external content?
Nope.
Okay. Cool. I had just this one, don't need to cover that, already covered that. Bunch of web app examples if you're interested. Just probably easiest to go play around with it and check it out. There's tons of stuff about SharePoint online too, like you can look up like most popular web apps and there's bunch of information about how people use stuff. So worth a little bit of research if you're interested. Okay, so the last piece that I want to cover are company and third-party apps. Okay, so this is really, so for the federal community, if you know the cloud that you're in, GCC allows third-party direct connection to third-party apps. So there's like a ton that are available. There's like over 900. Okay, so there's a ton out there, but by default, none of them will be enabled in your environment until administrator actually goes in and turns it on. And typically, what we found is the process with most of our federal customers, it'll have to go through a security review in order to do that. So what it's doing is, think about these are completely third-party separate apps that Microsoft does not offer, right? So really all that we're offering is that integration into Teams from that external source. If you as an organization agree to take on, I guess you could call it the risk of integrating that application into your system. Okay, so that's just, I just kind of want to put it out there that probably none of these are available. Well, by default, none of these will be available, and you'd have to work with IT to enable these third-party apps if interested. In addition, I should have put this on there. These are only available in GCC, right? So these are only available in our civilian, typically that's civilian government agencies. So if you're in GCC High or DoD, it's not even an option. So just also know that. So no need to go to IT. It's not possible yet for DoD or for GCC High. I just want to make sure that's clear. But if you're in a civilian agency, it's possible if you enable it. So I just kind of quickly want to cover some aspects of these different apps. Okay. So with third-party apps, there are different additional integrations into third-party apps that really kind of make them shine. So, if you ask me, using like Trello, for instance, in Teams is actually a nicer experience than just using Trello as a standalone website, because Trello integrates these 4 different, you can think of like categories into Teams when you integrate it into Teams. So like, let's say you and your organization use Trello. I think Trello is a great tool personally. Let's say you like it, it's kind of similar to Planner, but there's, I'd say, probably some more features and more like management features around it. So it is different. So let's say you really want to use Trello for whatever reason, and you go through your IT process to get it turned on, and it gets turned on. And we'll go here and I'll show you in the demo tenant what it looks like. But I kind of want to just cover at a high level the different integrations that Teams offers for any third-party app if the third-party apps take advantage of it. And Trello took advantage of all of them. So one, you have tabs. So we've already shown tabs, right? The ability to bring in your plan, in this case for Trello, bring in your plan directly into a tab. Okay, pretty standard. We've covered that already. The second, bots. Trello has a nice bot integrated into Teams that we'll show you here. And actually, I'll just do the demo while we cover this. So here we go. So here's my general sandbox. Abby, I'm going to add actually you to it. I should have done that earlier, just if you want to. So yeah, so I have Trello integrated into this team. So what I did is I clicked plus because I'm the admin for this demo tenant. I just enabled everything, right? And I can click Trello here. And now I, on the back end, already connected Trello with my account. So I have an account for Trello, and what I did is I connected this Teams group to that account. And so I click project plan. That's the plan that I have in my demo Trello account here that I'm showing. hit save, and then now I have this new plan, and let's rename that Trello, just Trello. And now you can see as a tab, right? My plan pops in as a tab. So very similar to like how Planner looked earlier, and Trello is a similar kind of app to Planner. You can do similar things with it. It looks very familiar, right? But it's totally interactive. You know, I can change it and interact with it directly, which is awesome, right? So no need to go to the Trello site anymore. I can just go to my Trello tab. The second thing, right, that I mentioned is those bots. So if I go down here in these ellipses, and this again is my GCC tenants, this is how it would look for you. If I go here in the ellipses, I see Trello is an option that's integrated as a bot, basically. So if I click this, then you'll see like a different view of Trello. And you can see what they have here is this little like Trello bot, okay? And you can do things like, what can I do? Yeah, let's do create plan. I think maybe you have to do something. Oh yeah, you do. Oh yeah. Add. No, anyway, I won't get all into it, but basically what I did before, add lunch with Deborah, something like that. Cool. Add lunch with Deborah, easy natural language. Then what popped up is lunch with Deborah, project plan, things to do. Then I can go through and through this bot, I can actually update this task in real time. I can say, let's assign it for tomorrow. Yeah, okay, yeah, this Friday, so tomorrow, perfect. Let's assign it to me. So I want to be the person assigned to this one. Okay, cool. And then you'll notice that you can go through, so this is kind of a different view of Trello now that it's integrated into Teams. I can go through and see my card this way. I can also go through Teams in my app and see my card this way too. I go to Trello. Anyway, and you can click it like that. So, oh, there it is, lunch with Deborah. There it is. That's what we just set up through the bot. So through like the natural language on the bot, I just set up and I'm editing this card just through the bot, right? So that's kind of a cool feature. The other feature that Trello offers are like connectors and adaptive cards. That what I just showed you is going through and actually like clicking, you know, what I just did there when I click that. The last one that I'd highlight for Trello is the message extensions. So if I go through here in my posts in Teams, and if I click the little ellipses down over here, you'll see that Trello now pops up as an option to add there. So anyway, what I can do is I can do this. I can quickly see the different items that are in the plan that I have. I could like click one, post about it, and then make edits here directly. So these are called message extensions. And so Trello is taking advantage of all 4 of those extensions in Teams. And they're pretty nice once you start using them. I mean, you know, like I'll use like the YouTube message extension a lot to post up videos to the team. It's just a really easy, quick way to reference stuff like reference videos for the team and stuff like that. So anyway, so those are the extra connectors that are available in third-party apps, and I just kind of want to quickly cover that just to make sure you know like what's available for the federal community, how they work, and what kind of integrations are available in Teams. Okay, I have one last section to cover, but any questions so far from the group, Abby and team?
Pretty quiet over here.
All right, that's okay. Last thing to cover is, and this is a little outside of the scope today, but I just want to briefly cover Power Automate as a way to connect your apps together, okay? So this is a pretty powerful feature. If you have Power Automate available to you, which just means if it was enabled for your organizations, it's available to the federal community, you can basically connect different apps together based off of actions that happen. So let me give you an example that's a real world example. So I work with a customer to use forms, right? That survey tool to create a form, a submission form for an agency who they were taking a event request. So they're a small group. They have a lot of event requests to like use different spaces and reserve people's times, and they were overwhelmed with all the emails. So they wanted to create a process out of it. So they use forms to create a process, or like a form, a submission form, right? And using forms, I mean, it took like 5 minutes to create. Like Forms just makes that submission form piece really easy. Then on the back end, what we used is Power Automate to do two things. Once a form was submitted, one, a new message was posted into Teams. So that organizing team that was receiving the requests, they got an email coming in saying that a new request had been submitted. And the second thing that happened is it created a new plan in Planner. So that's pretty cool, right? So basically, like the form got submitted, the notification came in through Teams, and then in the Planner, in that same team that the group used, they now had a new task that was assigned to Joni every time. So Joni was the designated person on the team who was tasked with fielding the requests at the first initial stage. And so, you know, it came in to Joni, like Joni saw that she was now assigned to this, and then she could go and start working that request through the system. So just one example of how you can use Power Automate in the back end. It's kind of a simple example, but it really works and works well. And just to kind of show you how easy it is. So, you know, this is the designer view of Power Automate on the back end. You know, what I just showed you is when a form is submitted, two things happen. One, post a message into Teams. Two, I had to grab some details from the forms, and then three, creates a task. I mean, it, you know, it takes a little bit of getting used to. If, you know, it might take you an hour or two to kind of understand how Power Automate works in the back end, but if you're interested, a really nice, simple, intuitive way to connect different apps together. And there are a ton of, you know, what are called triggers and actions that you can use for these, right? So like this is the trigger, meaning that the form submission is what's triggered the action, which are these two things. And there are a bunch available. There's like, I don't know, like over 100 that are available throughout all the different applications. Actually, probably well more than that. So anyway, this isn't meant to be a Power Automate class. I don't want to go into detail about all that, but I just want to like mention, definitely if you're interested in connecting these different apps together in a way like this, Power Automate is a great way to do that. All right, and that is all the content that we had for you today. We hope that you found this helpful. We'll stick around. Please fire any other questions that you have in the queue. We'll stick around until we answer everything. But I just want to kind of wrap up by saying, please send us any feedback you have in the queue. It's a great way to do it. And then again, these are some additional sessions coming up, and we'll have more in June to report out soon as well. So with that, Abby and team, any questions for us?
Nothing in the queue right now, but just for those of you that did not maybe check the announcements, I did post the link to the Point Drive that has all of our recorded sessions from the past 2 months. So if you didn't get what you needed out of this, or if you do need a more fundamental course, please take a look at that recording. And as Adam said, we'll be doing these probably through June. So thank you for coming. Still no questions, Adam.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate the time, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up then. Have a good one.
Bye, y'all.